In February of this year, I helped organize a group trip to one of the coldest places on Earth, Iceland. Our mission was to visit Iceland in the middle of winter with the end goal of seeing the Northern Lights. This trip to Iceland was incredible. It was just an all-around adventure trip. This is how it all started. So last year, I was invited on a trekking expedition to Nepal. On this trip, I met this guy, Tom Grond. Tom is from Holland, and he's been traveling for 7 years straight and has been to over 100 countries. We became great friends on this trip, ended up working together more throughout the year and traveling through many different countries. So Tom knew this guy, Max Sinclair, an entrepreneur based in London, who was putting together a special trip to Iceland and asked if I wanted to be a part of it. This trip was special because it was centered on sustainable tourism practices, working with a tour company dedicated to sustainability and environmental protection. Iceland has been one of my dream destinations, so this was a wonderful opportunity to get involved in a sustainable travel tour to Iceland and then also invite anyone else who wanted to be a part of it. So this was my first group trip, and when you think about group trips, you're like, I don't know if I want to travel with 12 other strangers I don't know. I don't know if I'd get along with them. A little bit too expensive. I'd rather just do all the planning and researching and logistics by myself. For me personally, I was also having these similar hesitations. So the itinerary's biggest selling point was that we were going on an expedition into the backcountry of Iceland and we would be chasing the Northern Lights. Catching a glimpse of the Northern Lights is a top travel experience. It's one of the highest on the list of things you must see in your lifetime. So Max, Tom, and I were like, all right, this is the most important piece of this trip. We have got to see the Northern Lights. Let me just preface this by saying seeing the Northern Lights is not an easy task. It's not like you pick a certain time on a certain day and you get to go out and see them. You need 3 things to align in order for there to even be a slight chance. You need little to zero light pollution, clear cloudless skies so no precipitation, and electrically charged particles from the sun need to enter the Earth's atmosphere and collide with gaseous particles. I call it a flare. For short. I had seen the Northern Lights in Alaska a couple years ago over Mount Denali, and it was mesmerizing. I was dying to see them again in Iceland. So fast forward come February, I'd been staying in London, and the night before I was supposed to fly to Iceland, I got really sick. I don't think it was coronavirus! I don't know. My illness was basically I was throwing up in the bathroom all night. Sorry if that was TMI. But it only persisted through the night and into the morning. So the whole sickness lasted like less than 12 hours. Because of that, I hadn't slept a wink the night before. I couldn't even keep water down. I was extremely dehydrated. And this was a big trip. I helped organize it with partners. I was about to be hosting my first group trip, so this was not something that I could just cancel in the morning. I put my game face on and flew with Max and Tom to Iceland. Okay, in planning and promoting my first group trip, I obviously had my reservations. Who is going to be on this trip? But I think generally people who have a similar interest in, wanting to explore new places, have new experiences, are going to be pretty cool people. After meeting everyone at the Reykjavik airport, we learned that most everyone came on their own, completely solo. So we were all kind of in the same boat. We met our Icelandic guide, Siggy. He does not own the Icelandic yogurt Siggy, although there are a lot of people in Iceland with the name Siggy. We set out for the day. It was about a 3-hour drive to where we would be staying at a hotel called Midgard, which I thought was a cool name because in the Marvel universe, Midgard is referred to as planet Earth. Yep, nerd alert. Okay, anyway. Our first stop was Gullfoss Falls. If you visit Iceland, this is probably going to be the first waterfall you see. It's located on Iceland's Golden Circle, which is a typical circle drive that begins and ends in Reykjavik. One thing to note, if you visit Iceland in the wintertime, this seems like common sense, but I feel like I need to say this anyway, make sure that you bring thermals, gloves, beanies, wool socks, preferably a down jacket, and definitely snow boots with good traction. Our next stop was Iceland's Great Geyser. This geyser was allegedly the first geyser, hence why all the geysers have the same name now. So Max, being the adventurous man he is, had this great idea to stand in front of the blowhole when it exploded. This thing is blowing out water from the ground. Also, it smelled a lot like sulfur. So we're standing there shivering, waiting for this thing to blow. It blows every 15 minutes or so. I stood back and watched this thing explode onto Max, Paul, and Jeremy. Jeremy came out of the cloud of mist screaming.
Oh my god, I ate it! Oh god, gross!
This was the first of many hysterical moments that happened all throughout the trip.
Oh my god, get out of there! John!
By the way, no one was hurt or injured in the making of this video. We stayed at this place called Midgard, which is in, you know what, I'm not even gonna try and pronounce these Icelandic names, so all of this information, if you're interested, will all be linked in the description. What was really cool about this place is they also set up expeditions and activities for you to do, and at the time, we were the only people staying at this place, so it kind of felt like a huge house for all of us. The next day was an expedition day. We set out in these huge lifted trucks and vans, what we called super jeeps, and we were heading for the highlands where we could walk on some snowy trails, explore a glacier, and pretty much have a really local Icelandic adventure. Say what up, guys! Hi. Pretty nervous about what we're about to do. Siggy made it seem like our lives are in his hands yesterday. We got the rest of the group in the back. We have started out and we're on our way to the glacier.
Yeah, into the mountains.
Oh, the horizon's blue.
Yeah, that's the storm coming actually.
Oh, that's the storm?
Yeah, you see it's like really dark.
What up, Max? That is an icy chill. We made it to the glacier. Quite the turbulent ride. So these vehicles are very capable. One of Siggy's major tasks is to make sure we don't get stuck for a while. Like, we're gonna get stuck here and there, so that's why we've got the other partner Jeep. We're following each other and making sure everyone's okay. But Siggy's task is basically to make sure we stay alive. Right now, he's deflating the air in the tires, which will add more traction and essentially allow the truck to float over the snowy terrain. There is a storm coming in. We're basically heading into the storm up until it's not safe anymore, and then we'll probably turn around. So our plans are really up in the air, and we're just kind of like frequently deciding on what we're going to be doing based on the movement of the storm. Look at how casual Siggy looks when he's driving.
I'm just loving it. It's a normal day in the office.
So the wind is picking up, the storm is really starting to move our way. It's a complete whiteout right now, so this is gonna be a very tricky and very fun and adventurous way of getting back.
We have a situation, not so much visibility now.
Good thing we have a native Icelander with us driving the car. This man's crazy. He has experience in Antarctica, he's got experience in, well, that's about all the experience you need. All right, Siggy, we can't see shit.
No. I think Bob Marley is very fit music for this.
Yeah.
Have they been stuck here for like hours?
Hours, yeah.
People that were stuck last time?
Yeah.
Are you guys okay back there?
Great.
Yeah?
Hell yeah.
Cool. We got Girl Scout cookies, we got Bob Marley.
Siggi, ef við náum binda upp úr hérna, þá getum við alveg farið hérna yfir.
Siggy, what do you want us to do?
Just sit and enjoy. I'm gonna put on waders.
Okay, good luck. Thank you.
I trust this guy, so you know I'm
Yeah.
not tripping yet. Okay. When I start seeing like sweat dripping down his forehead,
Yeah.
then I'll start worrying a little bit. But
Siggy's got this.
Oh, here's
We
the
totally trust him. I feel like his heart rate doesn't go above 80. Just want to say we all brought enough food and drink, food and water. So, well, we do have drink too, but food and water for like 7 days just in case anything happened and we got stuck. So we are fully prepared. The storm became really intense, and it was something that none of us had experienced before. Once the storm hit, it was a complete whiteout. We couldn't see anything in front of us, so Siggy was using the GPS on his dashboard to maneuver wherever the road was. Since we couldn't even see the roads, there were times where we would run into a riverbank, and at one point we tried ramming into the bank to see if we could push through it. Oh my gosh, we're gonna try and get through this, huh?
Yeah.
All right, Siggy. Oh my god. Oh, it's there. Everyone put your hands up. But we ended up getting stuck and had to be pulled out by the other van. Okay, so this was the crazy part. The wind started picking up to almost 100 miles an hour. So the number one rule Siggy told us was to not open the door unless you ask him. It was really dangerous to open the door because it could swing open, you could hurt yourself, break something even. And we were crawling through this storm for hours. And I don't know about you, but comment below if you've experienced something like this before. I had never physically stood in winds that strong. The first time I went outside of the truck, I was totally not prepared for it, and the wind swept my entire body back and I fell flat on my back. The wind was so strong that it felt like it was suffocating me because I couldn't get air in my mouth. So that was a pretty crazy experience alone. Okay, aside from the craziness that was going on outside of the car in the storm, our car was just simply having a ball. Aaron and Paul had brought every box of Girl Scout cookies. Paul was playing Bob Marley on shuffle, which totally eased the energy considering we were in the most massive storm anyone had ever been in. We would ask Siggy every time he came back into the car, is there anything that we can do to help? But these Icelandic people, this is their backyard. They know how to handle these situations, these crazy conditions, and that's why we hired them to do what they do best. So in that situation, there was plenty of room for anyone to start worrying, to start becoming stressed about our lives in danger, you know, thinking about what the plan is if we do get stuck. But our truck and the other van stuck really close together and we let Siggy take the lead. He was just the hero of the day, going outside into the storm and digging other cars out. Siggy and his partners, they were very capable of handling the situation. And for us who were in the truck and the other van, there's nothing like getting stuck in a crazy storm in Iceland to really get to know the people that you're sheltering in the car with.
We made it!
Siggy did it.
Midgard made the whole trip seamless because we would go back to the same hotel every day. They had a full serving bar and restaurant, so we ate all of our meals there too. And then in the morning, we'd wake up and we'd have the same guides who would work together based on the conditions of the day. They really created this itinerary that was different from typical tourist spots. We were able to experience the type of Icelandic adventure that locals are accustomed to. I'm walking down to the black sand beach here. Check this out. This is an amazing sight. We are starting out early this morning, getting all of our gear. I got my harness here and I'm about to put on my ice crampons. You checking the glacier?
Yeah. Whoa, I was expecting it to end there.
Okay, Max, with your brute strength, don't break through the glacier.
A wild Icelandic man is lost in the snow.
Look at him
He
standing.
pretends to know what he's doing.
This is unreal.
Max.
Look at the layers here. You can see the layer of dirt. What was also really cool about Midgard is that they have, I think, what they called like Northern Light seekers. So they would have these people going to these viewpoints, checking to see if the lights flared. And then if they were flaring, the Midgard staff would wake everyone up and go to that viewpoint and see the Northern Lights. We were at Midgard for 4 nights and 5 days. Every night we were like, okay, is tonight gonna be the night? Let's prepare ourselves to wake up in the middle of the night. On the last night we were there, the skies finally cleared up. So Siggy took us to a viewpoint. Are you able to see the Northern Lights on the photo?
Look at this. Oh, fudge. Oh my goodness. I'm professional.
They're dancing! They're like really dancing!
Oh, that's so pretty. So this trip ended up being extremely successful. It set the bar high for group trips because the people were just incredible that I met. Actually, I'm really good friends with them. We all keep in touch. We all have Zoom chats. We all do house parties like every week. We even started a quarantine cooking club where we're all cooking together on Zoom. I'm really proud of all of these people who came together solo and just kind of put themselves out there and decided like, why why not? I want to go cross something off my bucket list, and if I meet people that I like, cool. If I don't, I can keep to myself. We all kind of had this conversation, you know, eventually during the trip, where we were all admitting that we had hesitations about like what kind of people were going to be on the trip, as is totally natural. And I'm just so glad that we were able to do this trip before everything got shut down. It was just such a great kind of last adventure. I know you guys are all quarantining and staying at home, and all we can do is really take things day by day. I do want to let you know that I'm doing another group trip this year. It's not until October, and of course right now, you know, we can only make plans further towards the end of the year. In October, I'm taking a group to Bali. I think we have maybe 5 or 6 spots left. If you're feeling up to it, again, I know this is a really, you know, confusing, rough time to plan anything, but if you're feeling up to it, and if you're feeling like you might need a vacation towards the end of the year, hopefully when this is like subsided a little bit, I've linked the information about this Bali trip all in the description. In terms of the travel restrictions and what's going on, we are still determining that week by week, month by month. So I'm keeping everyone that's signed up to date. We're all in this group chat. Everyone is up to date with what's going on so far. So it will be in October, and I would love for you to think about joining. And if you have any questions, you know, you can always DM me directly on Instagram, or you can leave a comment on YouTube or Instagram, whichever. So thank you guys for being here and watching this video. I hope you guys are staying safe and healthy out there, keeping your loved ones safe and healthy, and I'll see you on the next video.